In the annals of history, few years have left as indelible a mark as 1929. This pivotal moment didn't just alter the course of the United States, it sent shockwaves that reverberated through the Western world and beyond, reshaping economies, societies, and political landscapes across the globe. Today we'll explore how a financial catastrophe in the United States triggered a worldwide transformation that we're still grappling with nearly a century later. The Great Depression, spanning over 10 years, began with the stock market crash on October 29, 1929, a day that would become known as Black Tuesday. On that single day, the market dropped over 12%. But this was just the beginning. Over the next 3 years, the stock market would plummet, declining around 90%. To put this into perspective, if a crash of similar magnitude were to happen to today's stock market, it would wipe out approximately $45 trillion in wealth. This wasn't just a bad day on Wall Street. It was the beginning of an economic catastrophe that would reshape the United States and ripple across the globe. The effects in the United States were immediate and devastating. Banks failed, businesses closed, and unemployment skyrocketed. By 1933, nearly 15 million Americans, about 30% of the workforce, were out of work. To put that in perspective, it would be like 50 million Americans losing their jobs today. The gross national product was cut in half, wages plummeted by 60%, and international trade fell by 2/3. While the Depression hit the United States hardest, its effects weren't confined to American borders. The economic tsunami quickly swept across the Atlantic, engulfing Europe in its wake. In Germany, already struggling under the weight of World War I reparations, the economic crisis contributed to the rise of the Nazi Party. Unemployment in Germany reached 30%, creating a desperate populace susceptible to extremist ideologies. Britain, the economic powerhouse of Europe, saw unemployment rise to 25%, leading to the formation of a national government. The country abandoned the gold standard in 1931, a move that would be replicated by many other nations, fundamentally changing the global financial system. Even in Japan, on the other side of the world, the economic downturn fueled militaristic expansion as a means to secure resources and markets. The Depression weakened the colonial powers, indirectly contributing to Japan's aggressive actions in Asia, which would eventually lead to its involvement in World War II. Back in the United States, the human toll was immense. Families were torn apart as men left home in search of work. Hoovervilles, shanty towns named sarcastically after President Herbert Hoover, sprang up across the country. In New York City's Central Park, a Hooverville housed over 1,000 people in makeshift shacks. The Dust Bowl, a series of severe dust storms in the Midwest, turned vast swathes of farmland into wasteland, forcing thousands to migrate westward in scenes immortalized by John Steinbeck's The Grapes of Wrath. This ecological disaster, partly caused by poor farming practices and drought, affected 100 million acres across Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas, Colorado, and New Mexico. Over 500,000 Americans were left homeless, and 2.5 million people fled the Dust Bowl states. In response to this crisis, President Franklin D. Roosevelt introduced the New Deal in 1933. This series of programs and reforms would fundamentally change the relationship between the U.S. government and its citizens. The New Deal was unprecedented in scope, consisting of over 40 new agencies and laws. Two of the most significant programs were the Works Progress Administration, WPA, and the Civilian Conservation Corps, CCC. The WPA alone provided over 8.5 million jobs, building or repairing 650,000 miles of roads, 125,000 public buildings, 75,000 bridges, and 8,000 parks. It also funded arts projects, employing writers, musicians, and artists to create public works of art, many of which can still be seen today. The New Deal gave us programs we still rely on today, like Social Security and unemployment insurance, ideas that were considered radical at the time. Social Security, established in 1935, provided a safety net for the elderly and disabled, fundamentally changing how Americans viewed retirement and old age security. The Depression also led to major reforms in the financial sector. The Glass-Steagall Act of 1933 separated commercial and investment banking, a measure designed to prevent the kind of speculation that contributed to the crash. This act established the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, FDIC, which insures bank deposits and has prevented bank runs ever since. The Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC, was established to regulate the stock market and prevent fraud. These were unprecedented steps to prevent future economic meltdowns, although their effectiveness continues to be debated to this day. The SEC's creation marked a new era of federal oversight in financial markets, setting standards for financial reporting and corporate governance that continue to evolve. The economic theories of John Maynard Keynes gained prominence during this time, giving rise to Keynesian economics. This approach advocated for government intervention to stimulate the economy during downturns. Keynes argued that in times of economic crisis, the government should increase spending and lower taxes to boost demand and pull the economy out of recession. This was a radical departure from the prevailing economic wisdom of the time. However, not everyone agreed with this approach. The Austrian School of Economics, led by thinkers like Friedrich Hayek, argued that government intervention would only prolong the depression. They believed that the market should be allowed to correct itself, even if that meant short-term pain. This debate between different schools of economic thought continues to shape policy discussions today, especially during times of economic crisis. While the United States and Europe were grappling with these changes, the rest of the world was feeling the effects too. In Latin America, countries dependent on exporting raw materials saw their economies crumble as global trade plummeted. Argentina, Brazil, and Chile were particularly hard hit, with their GDPs falling by 14%, 20%, and 38% respectively between 1929 and 1932. The Soviet Union, though relatively insulated due to its command economy, used the capitalist crisis as propaganda to promote communism. Soviet leaders pointed to the Depression as evidence of capitalism's inherent instability, an argument that would resonate in many parts of the world for decades to come. But amidst the hardship, there were also stories of resilience and innovation. Companies that survived the Depression often emerged stronger and more efficient. The crisis spurred technological advancements as businesses and individuals sought new ways to cut costs and increase productivity. The cultural impact of the Great Depression was profound, giving rise to a new genre of literature and art focused on social realism. From Dorothea Lange's iconic photograph, Migrant Mother, to John Steinbeck's powerful novel Of Mice and Men, and Charlie Chaplin's poignant film Modern Times. Artists captured the struggles and hopes of the era in ways that still resonate today. Perhaps most significantly, the Great Depression changed how Americans thought about money, work, and security. Those who lived through it developed a mindset of frugality and caution that they passed down to future generations. This shift in financial behavior is something we can still observe in many families today. So, what lessons can we draw from this chapter of history? First, it taught us the importance of economic stability and the dangers of unchecked speculation. The reforms put in place after the Depression helped create decades of economic growth and stability in the United States and much of the Western world. Secondly, it underscored the interconnectedness of the global economy. While the Depression started in the United States, its effects were felt worldwide, reminding us that in times of crisis, international cooperation is crucial. Lastly, the Great Depression serves as a powerful reminder of human resilience. Despite unimaginable hardships, people survived, adapted, and eventually thrived. It's a testament to the strength of the human spirit and a source of hope in our own uncertain times. The lessons of the Great Depression continue to influence modern economic policy. However, some of the protections put in place were later dismantled. Notably, the Glass-Steagall Act was repealed in 1999 under President Bill Clinton, a move that some economists argue contributed to the 2008 financial crisis. Indeed, we can draw parallels between the Great Depression and more recent economic crises. The 2008 financial crisis, while not as severe, shared some similarities in terms of its origins in financial speculation and its global impact. More recently, the economic shock of the COVID-19 pandemic in 2020 led to levels of unemployment not seen since the Great Depression. While government intervention helped speed recovery, it also had unintended consequences. The massive stimulus led to significant inflation, with cumulative inflation from 2021-2024 totaling almost 20%. reminiscent of the economic challenges faced in the aftermath of the Great Depression. Today, preventative measures inspired by the Great Depression are built into our economic system. These include stronger banking regulations, deposit insurance, and social safety nets. The Federal Reserve now plays a much more active role in managing economic crises, using tools developed in response to the lessons of the 1930s. However, as recent events have shown, finding the right balance between intervention and market forces remains a challenge. As we face modern challenges from economic inequality to rapid technological change, the lessons of the Great Depression remain relevant. It teaches us about the importance of compassion, the need for robust economic safeguards, and the power of collective action in the face of adversity. The United States, and indeed the world, that emerged from the Great Depression was fundamentally different from what came before. Understanding this history isn't just an academic exercise, it's crucial for navigating our present and shaping our future. So, the next time you deposit money in your FDIC-insured bank account, or collect unemployment benefits, or see a headline about global economic cooperation, remember, you're seeing the long shadow of 1929, the year that reshaped the United States, sent shockwaves through the Western world, and ultimately transformed the global economic landscape. It's a reminder that while economic crises can be devastating, they can also be catalysts for necessary change. And perhaps that's the most enduring legacy of 1929 and the Great Depression, the knowledge that even in our darkest hours, we have the capacity to learn, to grow, and to build a better world.